Good morning, everybody. Trying to hold off on my videos, but I'll do this one. We got another case I read yesterday. Now look at the date on this video. There were two girls shot. It's in the Corpus Christi caller, but it's criminal cases in this part of... You're basically moving into Mexico if you come to the city. With the corruption, officials from judges all the way to cops involved openly in organized crime in this city. With the mayor and every commissioner in the city fully aware of it. Fully aware of it. You know, one time, I'll tell you the case. For many years I went to Timmons Ministries, which is a street ministry that feeds the homeless. And you've seen me there with videos over the years, working with the guys, doing meetings, trying to help the guys. And I remember whenever somebody new shows up, this happens with me. When I show up and I'm new, when I was starting to go back to New Jersey and New York and all, when somebody shows up that might be new, immediately the guys that are on the streets always think, this guy's undercover, this guy's an undercover, that happens a lot, okay? So whenever there's a new person that shows up at Timmons Ministries, you know, the guys there normally are suspicious, and they might come. And there was a guy that came. You say, John, are you revealing? No, I'm going to speak truth. You're the ones that lie constantly, consistently, and commit crimes. You, the so-called law enforcement. So there was a guy that showed up. I think his name was Joshua, or he went by that name. I'm not positive, but he would show up every day with like a mountain hiking backpack, though there are no mountains in Corpus Christi. But he always had that mountain hiking backpack on, like he just hiked on a mountain. Well, even I thought to myself, you know, you should have a surfboard or something that would fit the terrain. So anyway, I figured, you know, the guys right away were like, oh, that guy's undercover, and maybe he was. And I try to, I do ministry. That's why I'm on the streets. So he was there for a while. This might have been 2 years ago or so. And, you know, sometimes, you know, I talk to whoever I talk to. And so he wanted to talk a few times. And he would tell me, I'm going to go, I'm getting ready to do my Appalachian Mountain thing, and it's a so many trek, and I'm going to go to this mountain, I'm going to go to Everest. So he tells me one day, yeah, I'm going because I like screwing a lot of women. I'm going to be screwing women. Look, whether you're under... I told him, I said, well, you know, that's not my walk, brother. And I say that to all the guys. I say, even to my Christian friends that are like on the streets, I said, no, you shouldn't be doing that. One time, one of the girls, who I forget, I wouldn't give her name, I kind of forget it. Young girl, you know, running around. But I remember she got all dressed up one day. And I would always sit outside by a bench, and they know me, everybody knows me there. And she'd come up to me like most of the guys are going to flirt, and I was going to go inside in the mission. And she's like, oh, wait, don't you want to get high with me? And I said, oh, no. I said, I'm clean, honey, I'm clean. Yeah, but you could still get high if you're not drinking. No, I said, my clean date, you know, I'm naive, like. And then later I asked one of the guys, I said, you know, so-and-so wanted to... I said, maybe it was a setup, and he told me, because, you know, he said, yeah, they wanted to see some. So I was always suspicious. So if this other guy, the mountain climber, Everest Alpine, the reason I thought, oh yeah, he was there. Now understand, so that's law enforcement right here, if he was, to practice deception, to speak words out of your mouth, that say, oh, I'm going to go on this trip, I'm going to be screwing women left and right. That's law enforcement. To speak words of iniquity, to commit crimes say, well, that's justified, John, because we did that. Okay, so you justify lying. You just put somebody in prison for 4 years here, this last 6 months case. There was an assault and battery a year and a half ago, and it was on somebody that was gay. I think he was black, but they had it as a hate crime, which, was good. I mean, I'm glad they charged him as a hate crime because they beat him up and he was black. But there was another person that was there that had no involvement. But when they investigated that crime here in Corpus Christi, he told the investigators he wasn't there. But they found out he was there. But he didn't do anything. 4 years in prison because they said, you can't lie. Lying is a crime. But law enforcement here can lie, assault and battery, be involved in organized crime, openly, publicly, and according to some friends, hits that took place over the years, killings that one reported. All of that is acceptable if you're in law enforcement. But if you lie, you're going to prison for 4 years. Now, my friend Joshua, the Mount Everest climber, was telling me he was first. That's a lie, because he wasn't a Mount Everest climber. But the way I knew, finally, and he'd be talking to me about, I'm going to go be screwing women. I can't wait to be screwing. And then he told me he got a job one time at, he's working for some car guy. I didn't know for sure if he was what he was. And he said, I'm cleaning the cars and making money, wiping them down. I said, that's good, brother. And then he's telling me, but I went to the club with my boss. And my boss, I guess these guys think, John is going to brag about fighting or something. I don't know. Because he said, and then my boss, when we were drinking some beers, tried to push me around, but I'm not like that. And this undercover guy, I'd kick his ass. That's what he was saying. Oh, really? So now you speak about assault and battery? That's wonderful. You have wonderful language. Besides the fact that your other on-duty guys actually do those things publicly, openly, with the full acknowledgement of every authority in the city. So when he said that, I guess he thought, John's gonna, because we know John's lost his cool a few times. And I just said, well, I guess if your boss is, at the club with you and you're gonna, whatever, he's gonna kick his boss's ass. I said, that's up to you, brother. I wasn't falling for any of this stuff, I guess they wanted me to say. So finally he left once. He was gone for months, maybe 8 months to a year, he was gone. And one of my other friends that he used to talk to, he actually told him that he worked for a government agency and he was basically undercover. I wouldn't doubt that the guy, had no self-discipline, and he probably told one of my other friends, not who was on the street, but was fairly upstanding. So one day a few years ago, I had a ticket of dumping, illegal dumping. I was helping some of the guys recently that I was talking about, Little Charlie and Big Charlie, friends of mine. But they lived in Big Charlie, lived out in a camp, homeless camp, and somebody donated a mattress to him from the ministry. So I helped him take the mattress and just put it where he was sleeping, and somebody videotaped us. They said, he's videotaping. I said, well, I don't care. I'm just helping you with the mattress. I got a ticket, illegal dumping, fine, probation. They said, look, I was not dumping this. But either way, I tried to resolve that a year or two later because they lied. The cops lied. They said, just go pick up the mattress. They came to my house, told my daughter, tell your father just to pick up the mattress. Everything will be all right. Well, they lied. So finally, trying to resolve that, I went one time, 2 years ago, maybe last year, I went to the Corpus Christi Police Department, and I said, look, this is a ticket thing. I want to fill. And so the lady says, well, you got to go. We don't deal with it here. I said, well, but you go to Eternal Affairs, which is off of like Airline. It's a little building over this side of town. I said, oh, I don't want to go over there. I don't need to go. But I went, and I was mad. And I told this before, and the cop that I spoke to seemed like a nice guy. He saw I was mad, just being there. And I told him, because at one point he said, look, I'm not here because of the illegal criminal activity you guys are doing. I said, I'm here just to resolve this ticket thing. And but I told him, and I said, and that son of a bitch tracked my ass, got the cop, followed me, running me off the highway. I said, and he's affiliated. He's involved in organized crime openly in our area with the full, and he looked at me like he knew. He wanted me to talk to him. And I told him, you're going to have a federal lawsuit on your ass unless you get these criminal cops off the street. And I walked out. So, that day, I went to Timmins. And the mountain climber who was gone for like a year shows up. That's how I knew. Oh, they probably called and said, yes, that guy showed up, John. He was highly upset, very mad. Maybe you can go catch him on secret audio that they might have on them making a threat. He just showed up, and even everybody, I was there with my friend Lance and everybody, and they're like, oh, you've been gone for like a year with Mountain Pack. And he's right next to me just wanting to listen. Now, I was mad, and I still didn't really click that that's what he was there for. But I was mad, so I seen him walking up, and I've done this with a lot of friends, and they just would look at me, and I would just look back. Like, I wouldn't say nothing, just look. And he was there talking to Lance and me. I didn't say nothing. He stayed for 2 minutes, and just seeing me like that, he left and never came back. I knew, and Lance, who's paranoid, said, oh, see, John, he might be here looking for me. That's Lance. And then I knew. I said, actually, no, because I didn't say it. No, I did. I told Lance, I said, well, you know, I was at the police department today, and I used the F word, which I did when I was at the police department, the Internal Affairs. I said, and maybe they were there because of me. Now, so you get paid, that guy, Josh, the mountain climber, you get paid to lie about you love screwing women. That's your, well, John, that's our job. Oh, and you put somebody in prison for 4 years for lying. Besides the fact that when I reported that cops are part of organized crime, you knew, still working the beat, and you knew it. Second most corrupt city in the United States of America. That's not me saying it, that's an actual study that was done. And the wonderful mayor and the commissioners come to beautiful. When people see that rating, it's like asking them to move into Monterrey or Mexico, where 40 children were supposedly burned to death by something, and they're investigating and they're lying because the cops and prosecutors in Mexico are all criminals. So that's what you're asking people to move to when you tell them how beautiful your city here is. Now, the Ogun case. I mean, this doesn't stop. This doesn't stop. We really need the federal authorities to shut this place down. To open crimes in the newspaper. There were enough articles I posted this last year about witnesses and even prosecutors in cases, Overton case, prosecutors in court saying, no, we purposefully lied and withheld evidence their consciences got to them. And said, yes, in the Hannah Overton case, we lied on purpose We were instructed to do. All of this came out openly. And in a normal city, those prosecutors and all would be charged. In this city, they keep doing it. In a normal city, when the internal affairs for that department is told, you know, that guy's involved in organized crime openly. And he gives you a look like, yeah, we know. 20 years. Matt told me once. Matt, one of my street friends, he told me when the guys knew I was starting to report all these things, they told me, and I always said, look, it's been reported to me. I don't know for sure. But Matt told me they did a raid in a trailer park here. As a matter of fact, I remember the trailer park because Derek, I think, used to live there with a little trailer. It's off of Lakeside. And this is, I don't know, 8-10 years ago. They did a raid and raided a bunch of trailers, maybe gangs, from what I understood. And they said that same officer went and collected all the guns in all those trailers. And I asked Matt, I said, was he on duty? No, just went and got everything. Because they believe he's part of underground organized crime. So I reported that. 8 years ago, I wrote letters on that. But it just keeps going. You could have videos of people being murdered. And all they got to do is look at the video and say, we've determined there's no crime here. Wait, no, he's killing him. They could determine that. There were 2 black people that were not here. This is another case. This is all news. They drove in front of a police station, and their car backfired. And a bunch of cops jumped in their vehicles thinking they shot the bullets. They stopped that car, shot that, it was a male and female, I guess a couple, shot him 17 times through the windshield. One of the officers was on the car, famous case, shot him 17 times through the windshield. Well, they realized that it was a mistake. And the officer who sat on top of the car, who shot 17 times through the windshield, that black couple was unarmed. And it was a mistake. That went to trial. And the judge ruled, because 8 officers or 7 all shot them, you couldn't prove the one who shot 17 times into their heads that his bullet, ballistics couldn't prove that it was his bullet that killed them. Therefore, every one of them got off scot-free. So if you're is that the law of this land? The law of this land is if one person shoots somebody else and there are 3 other people there, they all get charged. They're all guilty. The law of the land isn't if you can't prove by ballistics which bullet came from which gun, you all go scot-free. That's the law. But the law by those criminal cops who murdered that black couple, they do not abide by law. Now let's do this case. All right, 2 years ago, there was 2 girls that were brutally shot in the back of the head, raped, assaulted, in a little town right over this way called Portland. And Olgan and Chapa were their names. These are the 2 girls. Very sad case. So, now it's been a few years and they have not really got anybody for this. So last week, they charged a man by the name of Strickland. And I'm just reading this in the paper. Just reading this in the paper, like in your town. But don't forget, we are the 2nd most corrupt criminal city in the United States of America. Don't forget that. That's why these don't seem like a big thing. Attorneys for the man accused, whose name is Strickland, now they're going to court. And they're going to get ready to go to trial. But they want to call another witness who might be important to the case. Oh, really? And this other witness is a criminal from Nevada who is presently on parole living in Nevada. Okay? What would you want him there to be? Why would he be an important witness? They said to the judge The defense April 22 document states that the Nevada man's DNA matched the DNA at the crime scene, and he failed a lie detector test. Oh, so actually his DNA is there with the women who were raped. Oh, okay. That would be a pretty important witness, wouldn't you think? So he told the judge, the defense tells the judge, obviously this is quite important, that this criminal that is on parole in Nevada, maybe on the run, the defense said, we would need him to be taken into custody, being he's already on parole, because obviously he's not going to show up voluntarily, being his DNA is found at the crime scene. Well, the judge said, I get your point, because obviously if someone's DNA for a parole convict out of Nevada is actually at the crime scene of the women who were raped and murdered, but the judge said, I don't see any need to have to, put him into custody, because there's no indication that he will not willingly come. Meaning, let's try and send a subpoena to this criminal in Nevada on parole. But if he just doesn't come, we'll just move ahead with the case. Even though in a normal city, that man would have a warrant and he would be arrested as a suspect. But they already have a suspect. His name is Strickland. So, they said Strickland is charged with capital murder, aggravated assault, all these things. Another issue that came up is Strickland's wife faced a charge of tampering with evidence. So the guy who is now going to be tried for the rape and murder of these two young girls, who is another man's DNA was found at the scene, and this man's on parole in Nevada. But this man, his wife delivered a letter meant to frame her husband's former roommate. The letter meant to frame, okay. The letter included details police hadn't released, such as things about the body and all. So this wife had information. And the district attorney dismissed that charge, saying we couldn't prove she was the one who delivered it. Oh, but you have an anonymous letter by, most thought it was the wife, who had details of the crime that also was seen to be a setup. And police also ruled that the former roommate showed that he was in California. I believe that's the other man, that the DNA. But he kind of said, I wasn't there. My DNA's there, yeah, but I wasn't there. Now this case is going to go to trial. In a normal city, you would basically take that DNA evidence that was found at the murder of these girls, and you would consider the DNA of that man that was found at that scene. You would consider that other man is a very likely suspect in the murder. But here it's considered, we'll ask him if he wants to come back to Texas and explain to us how his DNA was in those girls or on those girls. But if he doesn't want to come, well, we'll move ahead with you, Mr. Strickland, who we also had your wife, but we couldn't prove it was her that gave a letter to frame somebody. So this is what you have in this area. This is what you got in this area. Let me, I didn't want to do another video, but I was going to forget to, that article. I like this. This is Judges 5. This is Judges 5. Judges is a great book. And God gives a great deliverance. In the Judges 4, God gives a great deliverance to his people. And Deborah is a prophetess. She's the only female judge that God raised up as a deliverer, like a Samson. We're going to read him later. But these are deliverers God was raising up. And each time the enemy would oppress God's people, he'd raise up a deliverer. And they gave a great deliverance. And in the previous chapter, in Judges 5, This is the Song of Deborah. Praise ye the Lord for the avenging of Israel. Praise him for the avenging of Israel. When the people willingly offered themselves. Hear, O you kings. Give ear, O you princes. Even I, will sing unto the Lord. I will sing praise to God. It's saying, all you in authority, that you got a million or a few thousand newspaper articles of crimes that you've committed, witnesses standing up, doctors and testimony in murder cases that have been overturned, Hannah Overton, documentary going to be an independent film festival. Your own prosecutors in that case said, we lied, we manipulated, we're so sorry. And all of that, the doctor in that case, you manipulated this. All of these are considered crimes. And in this county, that same group continued to use false evidence, false witnesses, framing people, and continued to do it, and ran for re-election. A normal city, these people would be in prison. Cops openly involved in organized crime, openly, publicly. Felonies left and right. All of it going on. And you can be reporting it for 7, 8 years. They go after you, run you off the road, threaten you. Your friends come to your house and say, recently, John, sometimes people with our group are asked to do hits on other people. But my friend said to me, but I think the people that do the hits, they throw away their whole lives and they go to prison for 20, 25 years. And that's a foolish thing, I think, John, my friend telling me. I said, it is. He was stabbed 2 years ago. Oh, a very bad stabbing. I was there that day by somebody else. So, you kings, the mountains melted from before the Lord. The mountains melted. I like this. In the days of Shamgar, the son of in the days of Jael, the highways were unoccupied, and the travelers walked through byways. They chose God. My heart is toward the governors of Israel that offer themselves willingly among the people. The leadership, governors like an apostolic ministry. Speak ye that ride on white asses or donkeys, I like horses. Ye that sit in judgment and walk by the way. Speak, speak. Do truth. Don't all the preachers doing all the ministries and you have injustices taking place. You say, it's not my job to speak. I preach the gospel. You're part of a country. You're part of if there's injustices that we do in other countries or here, you're required to speak. That's part of the gospel. Awake, awake, utter a song, lead thy captivity captive. Then he made them that remain have dominion over the nobles. Those that stuck it out had dominion over the nobles among the people. The Lord made me have dominion over the mighty. Out of Ephraim was their root against Amalek. It's very good prophetic praise song. I like this. They that handle the pen of the writer, the tongue of the ready writer, write, speak, and communicate. That's your protection. God searches up. Zebulun. The kings came and fought. They fought against Canaan, and they took no gain of money. Paul says, I do not preach the word of God for profit as others. They didn't take money. The great deliverers. They fought from heaven. The stars in their courses fought against Sisera. Curse ye, Meres, said the angel of the Lord. Curse ye, said the angel. I will bring my words upon this city for evil and not for good. That was the angel of the Lord. Curse ye bitterly the inhabitants thereof, because they came not to the help of the Lord, to the help of the Lord against the mighty. You should have done justice instead of covering it all up. Blessed above women, I like that. This reminds me of the New Testament Maris Magnificat, and blessed art thou among women. This is Judges 5. I'll add it into them. So let all the enemies perish, O Lord, but let them that love him be as the sun when he goes forth in his might, and the land had rest. That's a great, great deliverance, a great victory. All these things we see in the book of Psalms. Let's see, almost 30 minutes. That's great deliverance that God gives when you speak truth. Let's see, let's pick one. Arise, O Lord, let not man prevail. Let the heathen be judged in thy sight. Put them in fear, O Lord, that they may know themselves to be but men. Selah. Selah. The mountain climber just got back from Everest. Oh, really? You stayed 5 minutes, I didn't say a word, and you never came back. You think that's a just job that you do? Lying, manipulating, pretending to be a spy? That's not a just job. You violated the law of God by giving false testimony. Arise.